Welcome back to the Candy Colored Studio.
And welcome to the Creative Heroine podcast.
I'm artist Katrina Berg.
And I'm artist Jessica Libor, and we are so excited to be here with you today. Today we're going to be talking with you guys about how we plan our year and some inspiration and methods to plan your year as an artist, even when you're unsure of what's going on in the world. So I'm going to be sharing some strategies that I use to really make sure that you are, first of all, leaning your ladder up in the right direction for you when you're planning your year, and then creating daily actions for yourselves, some big goals for yourselves, making sure you hit your marketing goals, and also like just being excited about what the new year brings for you and your art. And what about you,
Yeah,
Katrina?
well, I totally agree, Jessica. And I love, as Jessica and I planned on doing this episode together, we both went through our typical process at the end of the year, looking back and also preparing for the next year. And as I was doing that, I went back and listened to the episodes of reviews that I'd done since 2019. And it was so fascinating because I thought to myself, there were moments when I thought, oh, I remember that artist. I remember her. I remember where she was. And it felt like such an out of body experience. I felt like I was looking at somebody different that I knew, if that makes sense. And
Mm,
isn't that what we want? We want to be able to look 5 years back and say, this is where I was, and this is what
yeah.
I've become. And what is it that helped me get here? What are the goals that I'm still working on? What are the things that I'm implementing so strategically and so specifically so that I can be here 5 years later? And
Mhm.
as I was listening to all of those episodes, there was one story that I shared, and I totally forgot about this. So when the Candy Club and I had our membership and we got in and did some art business stuff every month together online, we started in 2019, we went through 2020, and the end of 2020, I had been talking to the ladies, and the one gal said that she was concerned because during 2020, obviously she hadn't done as many shows and she thought it was really affecting her business. So she went in and started doing her accounting. And she found that at the beginning of November, before all of her big holiday shows, she actually was ahead, and she was so surprised. And so I asked the women, I said, I did something similar recently as well, and I'm ahead even though it's 2020. And so I asked all the ladies that attended that day, and every single one of them, except for two, said that they were actually beyond where they were in previous years, even though it was the worst year
Mhm.
for a lot of us. It was a very difficult year, and yet these ladies were not only surviving, but they were thriving. And so it just reminded me that, first of all, wherever we put our time and our effort, whatever plants we're watering, those are the ones that are going to grow.
Mhm.
Wherever our energy and our mindset is really placed, that's what's we're going to see progress. And I was just so proud of those ladies. So that was kind of like the first kind of aha moment. And so as we spend time together today, I just want to remind you that here we are at the beginning of a year, and there might be some anticipation and anxiety about what's going on in your life and what this year is going to look like. But Jessica and I are here to just remind you that wonderful things can happen despite difficult situations, because there's so many good things that come. In fact, Jessica, you had a great insight about why we create.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because we were talking about how, like, um, you can have a great year financially as an artist, even when things are unsure in the world, like the current political situation right now. Um, like, you can still have a great year despite anything that's going on in the world. And a lot of that comes back to, really tapping into your mission as an artist, and your, like, tapping into the value that you create in this world and really believing that. And part of that is not even tied to finances. It's tied to like, what you want to create in this world and what you want to like gift to the planet because of your existence. And
Yeah.
like really tapping into that meaning and that like depth of mission within yourself is gonna is going to first of all be very fulfilling to you, and then touch more lives because of your strength of your calling as an artist and your conviction for that. And then also, it will translate into sales because people are going to be very inspired by that.
Absolutely. And that reminded me of this beautiful story that I heard. One of my favorite books and one of the great online mentors in our community is Jason Juarez of the Xanadu Gallery in, I believe it's Scottsdale, Arizona. And he came many years ago and shared a story about how when they opened the gallery, the day they chose to open the gallery was 9/11, and how difficult that was, and how they opened the doors and everything happened. And then he looked at his wife and said, "We've made a huge mistake. And basically our whole like financial security we put into this gallery, and this is not going to be a good move." But then soon after that, I don't know if it was within a half hour or 10 minutes, a lady drove up and came in and said, "I need to do something good today. I need to feel beauty and love." And so she bought a huge sculpture. So
Mhm.
it just goes to show that we as artists, just like Jessica says, you have a mission, you have a calling, you are painting or creating or whatever it is that you're doing for a very specific purpose. And it has nothing to do with what's going on externally, but it will help people in ways that you can never even imagine. Even though you know that you're supposed to be doing this, you don't know how it's going to affect others. And so we
Absolutely.
have to let go of
Yeah.
anything that's causing us stress and just be the artist that we're meant to be.
hmm that's making me think of a story of this collector couple who collected many of my pieces. And I did this very small, it was just like a 4 inch by 6 inch piece that's of an angel. And they bought it. And later on, I heard from the woman who bought it. She said, I brought that piece to my daughter's, when my daughter was giving birth to like our first grandchild, and she brought it to the hospital because she felt like it was like watching over her daughter. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. It's just
Yeah.
incredible.
Absolutely. I love that. And
Mhm.
yeah, and there's so many ways that people can connect to you and your artwork. And this is not the time to stop. This is the time that people need you and
Mhm.
they need your work. So that's
Mhm.
why we're here today. And we want to just like, reiterate that idea that wherever we put our focus, our mindset, our energy, that is where things are going to start to happen. And so, in order to do that, Jessica is going to walk us through her process.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hear about it. And I will add, whatever, but it's going to be good.
Sure, yeah. Well, I did this like a week ago because I was feeling, well, first of all, I went to Quebec, which was so magical, and I had such an amazing time. So I was there until I think the 5th of January. So then I got back and I was just processing the trip because it was such an amazing trip. But obviously, like I didn't like prepare all my New Year's resolutions during the trip. I was just like sightseeing as much as possible and stuff. So when I got back and like I was home and unpacked for a couple days, then I had like the space to kind of think about the new year and think about my goals and everything. So yeah. So my new year was like a little bit delayed by like 10 days. um as far as like a fiscal new year and like thinking about my goals for as an artist and everything. But what I did was, I really like to try to set my goals from like my highest possible self, because there's a lot of things that you might like to experience as an artist or just as a creative, whatever you do. Um, but I think what really helps me is getting into the mindset of like your highest self and like your best self before you kind of like write those goals, and writing those goals and inspiration from that point, so you really know you're going in the right direction. So for me that looks like prayer and meditation. Like I literally did this for like 3 hours. I was like, I took a huge, so this is my like all my goals and everything. I took this huge paper because like I feel like journals are cool, but like lined journals, I'm realizing give me anxiety. They make me feel so constricted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like if I get a big piece of paper and then I'm able to kind of spread out, I can like write things, but I could also like draw things, and it just like gives me a lot more to play with. So I took this big piece of paper and I did some prayer, and then I did a really long meditation, and I would stop meditating when I had like an idea, or I like to call them downloads, and then I would write down kind of the ideas that I was having, and then I would continue meditating. And sometimes I would like have an idea, but then I would like need more, and so I would continue meditating until I like had more of a fleshed out idea. And um and so so I ended up with like some really cool, very kind of sparkly exciting goals that make me feel like really excited. um yeah, so yeah.
Everybody needs sparkly, exciting goals, Jessica. And I love that you realized that the lines constrict you because, again, not everyone enjoys setting New Year's goals.
Mhm.
And so, whatever it takes to find the most expanding experience for your process,
Mhm.
that's what you need to tap into. So, well done.
Yeah, yeah. I've just realized this, like after doing many like goal setting sessions over the past few years. Like, I don't know if you ever listen to like productivity gurus and people who are like, you need to get up at 5 a.m. and like do this, and just grind it out. And like I've tried all those things and it just kills my creativity until I crash. Um, and
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's like everything is energy, right? So everything's got to flow, and the energy that you start from in the new year, as you begin to create and begin to like visualize your goals for the year and what you want to experience, like that needs to feel exciting to you. It
Yeah.
can't feel like punishing.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So what I did was I started with my values, and these are not like, for me, this was not your life values. These are your values within your art that I was thinking of. So I came up with beauty, experimentation, play, enchantment, and magic. So those things all like feel really like exciting to me right now.
Yeah.
So at least for this year at this time, like that, those are my values. And then I wrote down some daily actions. So paint or draw daily. And I have been doing that. I think there's only one day where I haven't done that so far, but some days I only have time for like sketching for 5 minutes, but other days I'll like paint for several hours. And um, but the point is, I want to feel like I don't want to break that stride of like feeling like I'm an artist.
Yeah.
Um, so paint or draw daily, post 3 times a week on social media, because I do sometimes just like want to step away from social medias, but I think it's good. It's helpful for people to know that you're there. And then doing my weekly newsletter, and detailed, heartfelt, and pretty. So I fell off on my newsletter as much as I usually do during the fall because I got so busy. But this year, I really want to make it. I really want to build that relationship with my clients and with my collectors more, so that I definitely want to make it more of an effort to do a weekly newsletter. Um,
Yeah,
so,
and on that thread, while we're talking about email newsletters, I feel
Mhm.
like that is a really good way for us to nurture and to lift our collectors
Yeah.
during this time. And
Mhm.
so that's something that we can do. And then also just considering what happened with TikTok recently.
Yeah.
Even before the TikTok ban, one of my good friends, her whole account got suspended. I don't think she's gotten it back. It's probably been a week. I don't know.
Wow.
Anyways, the point is I reached out to her. I hadn't reached out to her in a while, and I just texted her and said, "I'm so sorry," because I've had so many friends where this has happened to them.
Mm,
And, long before COVID, it was really obvious that you don't own your social media. You're using their platform. And so when we do the email list, we know it's going to get to people,
mhm,
but with social media, you don't know if it's going to get banned. You don't know if for some reason something's going to happen, if the
yeah.
algorithm is not going to like you in 2025.
Yeah.
So I think that I love your idea of posting so that people know that you're still there, but also realize that it's not a sure thing. And
Mhm,
so, not to put fear on anyone, but take advantage of, utilize the tools that are totally yours.
mhm.
Utilize that email list, utilize the email platform, because
Mhm.
that's something that nobody can take away from you. I've never seen anyone's email newsletter getting taken away.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Absolutely. My email list is like my gold. Like these people have followed me for years now, and that's where I mean I make so many sales from my email list. And I
Mhm.
mean just the ratio um of the sales from Instagram versus my email list is like it's very dramatic, like the difference.
Right.
And a lot of the thing is, a lot of those people discovered me from Instagram, though. So
Yes.
yeah, it's like kind of bringing them into your inner courts and your email
Yep,
list.
I agree. I feel like that's a great introduction to who you are, but then you can really serve people so much deeper within the email list. And
Mhm.
for me personally, I feel like Instagram did a lot to just do a lot of small sales and introduce me to collectors, but it's the email list where after months of nurturing, sometimes
Mhm.
years, they buy these big pieces
Mhm.
because now they feel like they actually know who you are and what you can do. And it
Mhm.
takes time for them to get that
Mhm.
feeling. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so my big goal, which makes me really excited, is a star-studded exhibition of female artists at the Hamptons Fine Art Show with a red carpet, velvet ropes, refreshments, themed dress, and just excitement. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing the Hamptons Fine Art Fair again for Era Contemporary and curating like a show there. Um, for like female artists, and I'm really excited for that. And yeah, I want to make it like an event there and like make it really really cool and pretty. And the theme is Gardens of Enchantment. So um, yeah, so that's a big
That's
goal.
amazing.
And then another goal for myself personally is 12 magical new pieces ready to show by the end of June. So
Okay.
so yeah, that's a good goal for me because that's I mean it's doable, but it's also like kind of rigorous for me just at the pace that I work
Okay.
at for oil painting. And then I wrote down brand aesthetic. So I wrote down just some notes um, for like my branding, and some of it like doesn't even make sense, but the words like excite me. um, yeah, because I write all this down like in a state of meditation, and then like I go back and I'm like, oh yeah, I get the vibe of what you were saying, but yeah, it's almost like you're writing from an altered state. So anyway, that's like kind of an idea, and then I had a secondary idea after this, which is to show at a government building or a library, and so
Uh-huh.
that's going to be something that I'm working on as well this year. But all of these things are I mean, and this is just for my art career because I did a whole other thing for the creative heroine and for era contemporary. So
Mhm.
I'm just sharing my art career one, but yeah. So that's why it took so long because I was really going through like the possibilities because when you meditate or like get into a really relaxed state, then your mind has you have to get your nervous system really, really calm so that it can think about all of these possibilities. Because if
Yeah.
you're in a fight or flight state where you're like, well, I have to pay the bills and I have to do this and I have to take this child here or whatever, you can't really think about these things because the mind doesn't prioritize them as like urgent. But if you get into a space where you're like, okay, I just have this to do for like the next 2 hours, um, then your mind can really start to like open up to the possibilities. And then once you write them down, then you can be like, oh, it's like you captured them,
Yeah.
and then you can work with it. So that's kind of that was my process this year for like finding my goals for the year.
I like that. Mine
Yeah.
was a little different because I can't help it, but I include family. So, like, the three things I always consider is my family, my friendship, and then personal.
Ah.
And for me, I feel like I wanted to just start with what 2026 is going to feel and look like after working
Oh.
throughout this year. And
Okay.
so I'll just read to you what I wrote down. That I'm thriving. I feel pressure, but I'm not stressed. My systems are clear and working. I have lots of work, but I have time for family, my personal, and also friendship, and that my financial health is better than ever. So
Mhm.
that's what I would like 2026 to look like. And so then I have to go through the process like Jessica described of what do I need to do on a daily and a weekly and a monthly, quarterly basis to work towards that goal. And a lot of that just means that I need to look back and say, what were the systems that I've used in the last couple of years? What do I need to do to tweak them? For me, like the biggest system is my commission process. And that's what takes me the longest because I've been doing really big commissions that take, anywhere between 4 and 8 weeks. And so
Mhm.
there's a lot of communication and coordinating that happens. And I'm the type of person I like to just do one piece at a time, but that's hard because then when you're trying to coordinate the next one, you have to kind of overlap, which is hard for my brain.
Mhm.
It's funny because I'm kind of opposite of Jessica. Like, it sounds like you would do better cross working on multiple projects at once, whereas I'd like to just work on one, which is such a fascinating thing. But again, it's really important to understand how you create as a creative so that you can
Yeah.
get in and set these doable, very specific goals so that you can reach what you really want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. And that's funny that you say that because actually, I feel like I do work better when I just focus on one thing.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, as an artist, I just feel like you have to juggle multiple things, like,
Yeah, you do.
and so it's
Uh-huh.
something that I've really had to try to learn.
Hmm.
And one thing that I've really learned this year is like one thing doesn't have to be completely finished before you start another. Um, like some things are just going to overlap, like this show, the dollhouse show that I'm doing, like that overlaps with us, launching our retreat. And like
Yeah.
I just had
Yeah.
to you just have to juggle things and like,
Right.
you know
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Jessica, but I use a lot of spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets and
Mhm.
keeping track of things in that way because that helps me also be more concrete. Because as an artist, everything is I want it to be sparkly and beautiful and fun. And
Mhm.
yet sometimes I have to look at the numbers. And so as I was making goals, like you talked about 12 pieces by June, and I told myself I want to do 8 big commissions this year. And I think last year the goal was 10, but as I looked at the numbers, I realized when it takes 4 to 8 weeks to do a big piece, I don't know how to do
Mhm.
in between other little shows and events and
Mhm.
pieces. And so it's just interesting. It's interesting to look back at those numbers and see how that's really gonna, you know,
Mhm.
because like you said at the beginning, we want to plan for our most, what did you say, most not productive, our most,
I think I said plan from our highest selves.
Yes, our highest self. We want to plan from our highest self, but at the same time, we don't want to push ourselves to the point where we can't create and be in our higher self because we're trying to do something beyond. So
Right,
it's
right,
the
right.
push, but not pushing off the edge, I guess. And it's a balance. And I hate to say balance, but it's a consideration. I know balance is hard, but I feel like, we have to consider these things. But
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, I love your process, Jessica. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's my process for the year, and I'm really excited to kind of to bring this into fruition. I also think like I want to go to more events this year because one of the things that I love about being an artist in the Philadelphia region is there's really cool art events in Philadelphia and also New York. And so one of the things that I want to do is like go to more events and like
Mhm.
wear fun costumes and just really lean into kind of the glamour of it because that's very, very cool to me. And it's part of the joy of being an artist. And so I have like there's a big event coming up at the Philadelphia Art Museum called Artish, and I went to that with a friend last year, and it's really magical. And like 1,000 people go, and like everyone's in tuxes, and it's really really fun. And so I'm gonna go to that. There's like a bunch of events in New York. I'm going to one on Sunday at the Guggenheim, which is really exciting. Um, so yeah, I think just like, and these are great networking events as well for artists because everyone who goes is interested in art. So part of my inspiration for this year is kind of getting out more and enjoying that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so wise. It's so funny because as I was kind of describing and looking at, where some of these past years I talked about this desire to be a hermit, an artist hermit.
I mean,
And
it
as
doesn't
I
hurt.
was, even before I heard that part of one of the old episodes, I realized this year that I have achieved hobbit status. And I love being a little hobbit and, having access to my beautiful pantry that I can go eat all the meals I want. No, just kidding. But there was so much time in the beginning for the hustle, and the hustle is wonderful. And yet, then you're either in the hustle and you're doing all the shows, or you're spending a lot of time in your studio and you want that inspiration and the opportunity to connect with your community. And Jessica, you are next to like an amazing, thriving, obviously multiple communities of
Yeah.
artists, and I think that's so great. And I think that that is a good reminder because it is important to get outside of our little hobbit
Mhm.
hole every once in a while and see what others are creating, because that's really what will inspire us and
Mhm.
just fill us with joy, of what art really
Absolutely.
represents.
Yeah,
So,
another thing that I want to be doing more this year is teaching more. So I'm teaching a class right now. It's like a beginning drawing class, like an in-person class here in Philadelphia, and it has been bringing me so much joy. Like just being in a classroom full of people who are like so eager to learn, and being able to just inspire them and guide them, and just have that community has been really, really fun. So that's something I want to do as well, which really feeds into the Creative Heroines and our project that we're doing for launching our retreat, which is going to be all of these things and more. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we're so excited for this retreat because it's really an opportunity for we as women artists to get together and to have some inspirational moments to create together, but then also to strategize and plan and to
Mhm.
have these big ideas that Jessica kind of illustrated for you today, to be able to really have a comfortable place to do that and to be inspired by others while you do it. And
Mhm.
so I feel like it's an interesting thing to plan together because I think that sometimes our heart is telling us that we have the potential to do this sparkly, wonderful thing, but we are afraid to do it. But if you're in a safe place, creating and planning together, you will have the support needed to go after that goal. And
Mhm.
also just the realization that what your heart's been telling you is true, that you can achieve those goals. And I think that it's also helpful to see specific ways that people are achieving those goals, so that again you realize that it's possible. It's not just something that you've heard on the internet, it's not just something you've seen on social media, but it is something that that people that you trust are doing, and then it's working for them. And that's the beauty of getting together and retreating together and having this mastermind, is that you can spend that week just really getting deep and then see it affect you for the next year and the next
Mm-hmm.
5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really going to be amazing because we have so much planned for the week, so many cool things. So we have, I mean, it's going to be held at my house, which is an amazing place, full of prisms and plants and art. And and it's also right next to this um, this nature park, 50 acre nature park, which we're going to be exploring. But we're going to have times where we do masterminds. We're going to have guest speakers, and then we're also going to have some things like sound baths and um, kind of like more healing modalities. And then we will also be doing time to creating in nature, creating at the art museum. There's so many art museums in the area that we're going to be visiting. The Delaware Art Museum, the Philadelphia Art Museum, Brandywine, and some private tours that we also have, as well as amazing culinary experiences. So yeah, all of it is going to be included in this amazing retreat. And yeah, and there's just so much to explore too, in this area. It's going to be held in Wayne, which is close to King of Prussia, and there's just so much culturally within that area, like even just beyond the retreat for someone who's visiting from out of town. It's a wonderful area that you're going to really enjoy. And yeah, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I'm just so excited, and we just want to invite you to apply.
Hmm.
That's the process that we're asking, is that for people to apply, and we would just want to create this amazing experience for you, and
Hmm.
that'll help us know exactly where you are, what you're hoping to get out of this mastermind, and
Hmm.
we'll just be able to keep you in mind as we continue to put all the details together.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's in April. So, yeah. And you do get a discount if you apply before February. So that's coming up next week. So if you'd like to apply, now's the time to do it. And we would love to see your application.
Yes, absolutely. And we just want to send a lot of love to each of you today. Again, just know that we're thinking about you. We are sending out the best energy for your 2025 and
Mhm.
beyond. And we know that you, again, have something special that you have to create that nobody can create, and
Mhm.
something that we need in this world. And so get out there and do the things that we know you need to do, and come join us. We would love to be a part of your journey and to be able to take this adventure with you.
Absolutely. Your art matters, and we can't wait to connect with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We want to say goodbye till next time, and we hope to hear from you.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.